Hello and welcome to this complete tutorial on how to use Copilot Chat. The version that we're working with here is the free version that is included with your Microsoft 365 work license. This is not the consumer version and this is not the paid license. This is what you can do just by virtue of having a Microsoft 365 license at work. I will go through all of the capabilities, the skills you need to make the most of it, including how to write good prompts and some good use cases. We're going to have a look here at how to use secure chat at work, and how to build agents, and how to use AI in the apps you use every day, like Word, PowerPoint, Teams, Excel, and OneNote. If you get value out of this, please share it with others. I think this is a really valuable capability that people don't know much about. Many of you have probably got it and don't even know you've got it because all of the attention gets put on the premium paid license, but there's a lot of value here too. So come along for the ride with me. You should be able to follow along with most of this with your own documents. Pause where you need to, jump ahead where you need to. Let's have some fun. Let's start with what this is and how you access it. First thing you can do is go to your browser and go to this website here, m365.cloud.microsoft, and this is the hero experience, the landing page. This is actually the Microsoft 365 landing page. So you'll start here with the chat, but you'll see you've got some other things along the side here, the ability to search for documents that you are working with, as well as the apps button here, which allows you to navigate around to all of those Microsoft 365 experiences. But I'm going to be focusing here on mostly on the chat and the agents we'll come back to later. Now, this is where I generally work with it, but you might find this in other places as well. In particular, you might discover it in Teams. So if you're just going about your business in Teams, you may have seen this Copilot icon pop up here in the chat. If you click on that, you will find the same experience. So what I'm looking at here and what I'm looking at here are the same thing. You'll just notice that when I'm in the web browser, I've got this nice menu on the side that allows me to access many things, plus more screen real estate, which I do enjoy. But this is the same thing inside Teams here. So the idea here is that this follows you around wherever you go. We're going to have a look at where it is in the apps later in the tutorial, but it's following you around wherever you work in the context of your work. Now, this is the free version. I'm going to emphasize as we go along the parts where there's a cutoff between the free version and where you would need a paid license. So first point here, if you're accessing this in Teams with a free version and you've just found it inside here, you can do everything I'm showing you in this video, but this is not actually Copilot in Teams. It's not doing meeting summaries, any of those things. You do need the paid license for that. It's just a way of accessing that free chat experience in the context of where you are in Teams, if that's where you happen to work. I should also note I'm using a demo system here, which means I'm logged in on a web browser and I'm using the web versions of everything, but these things all work in the desktop versions as well, if that is how you happen to work. The core thing to understand here is that this is secure enterprise-grade chat. It actually uses the same capability that sits underneath ChatGPT, but instead of you going out to ChatGPT, which honestly is a consumer tool where you can do what you like, but you should not be putting secure work data in there that can train the model underneath. This is actually bringing AI securely into your work environment. So you're bringing the AI into where you are already logged in securely, rather than going out and taking your work data somewhere that might not be secure. So that's the core thing to understand. When you are logged into this, if you needed to do it the first time, you might have been prompted to log in with your work account. You'll see I'm logged in here. Obviously, I'm not Amy. Amy is my demo account. I'm Lisa. So Amy is my demo account here, but we are logged in with a work account. And you'll know you're in the right place, and you can check on this by selecting this little shield icon at the top here. And this tells you about the enterprise data protection, which means that when you are using this chat experience, Microsoft does not see your data. They do not have any eyes on your data unless you're explicitly filling a feedback form and saying, yes, please share this thing. They can't see what you're doing. And anything you do here is not being used to train the underlying model. So the concept of what's going on here is that we have a large language model, basically something that's been trained on a lot of data from the internet, from anything it can get its hands on, basically, that understands how words work together, how words, what they mean and how to string them together, and can use that to generate responses for you. But anything you do here does not go back into that underlying large language model. It is safe and secure here and stays within that work tenant. Now, there is a concept in here of Copilot memory in the sense that it understands what you're doing. That is not the same as it taking it back out into that public large language model where other people might pick up on things you've done. We'll come back to memory. So this is safe, secure, enterprise AI. Let's get started with the most important skill that you need to understand to get the most out of this, which is prompting. Now, I am deliberately not using the phrase prompt engineering, which is a whole science that goes on, because as a person at work using AI, you don't need to understand prompt engineering. That sounds very technical. I promise you, this is not technical. This is just effective and clever use of language. So this is a prompting skill set, and I'm going to take you through a framework here of how you can get more out of this. So what we're going to do to start with is work with an existing document that we've got available inside OneDrive. This user is logged in, and so this Copilot Chat can actually work with the documents that you've got in your OneDrive, or you can securely upload documents in here to work with as well. So I'm going to start with the place that most people start with, which is a prompt that looks something like this. Summarize this file, right? We're going to do better than this, but I just want to show you the concept. So what you can do here is select the / key that sits on your keyboard down on the bottom right next to the shift key, the / key. And what that will actually do is show you the documents that you as the logged in user have access to on your OneDrive. Now, if you want to be able to access SharePoint, all of the documents, all of your context at work, that needs a paid license. To be honest, that's the thing you're paying for. Like, that's the highest value thing you're paying for. But what this can do is go to my files and I can select certain files to work with. So that's what you can do with the free version, which still has a lot of value once you know that it's there. So let's say that we've got a bunch of stuff that we're working on here. This is actually showing me sort of all of the recent things that I've been working with. I can actually just start to type it in. So let's say I've got my promotional plan for this Contoso tea, and I can come in here and select that. So I'm saying summarize this file, and there it goes. Now, if you use a very, very basic prompt like summarize this file, you're only ever going to get a very generic response, because if I asked all of you watching now to summarize this file, and let's actually take a look at what's in it so that you've got a sense of it. Put a link to this document in the description if you want to follow along. I've just borrowed this from a Microsoft Learn site, so use your own document, or you can grab this one if you like. There's a lot going on here. So we've got an executive summary, we've got taglines for tea, various things there. Now, if I asked every one of you to summarize this, I would get a bunch of different things. Some of you might give me a sentence, some of you might give me 4 bullet points, someone might put it in a table, I don't know, like the output could be different, but it's a very general prompt. So the thing that you need to think about when you're writing a prompt to get more out of the Copilot Chat experience is to think of it more like delegating a task to a person. So think about if you've ever delegated a task to someone, or if someone's ever delegated a task to you. It helps enormously if you understand the context of why. Why am I doing this task? What is it being used for? What else is going on around it? So if you take that mindset, you'll find the exact same thing will happen here. So the framework to think about here, and you don't have to write this full prompt every single time, is that there are 4 elements of a good prompt. The first one is the goal. And the goal often looks something like this: summarize this file. It's just like, what do I want you to do? And for most of us, that's where it starts and finishes. That's what we end up using it for. But these other things are the things to consider that make a big difference. And this one here, context, is the thing that makes the biggest difference of all. Why do we need this? What are we going to use this for? So instead of summarize this file, promotional plan, summarize the key points listed in this file in order to prepare me for a meeting where we are going to be discussing the budget. Summarize the key points in this file to help me generate a marketing plan that will fit in with the rest of our product line. Do you see what I'm doing here? The context of this matters a lot, because if I'm asking it to summarize in the context of a budget meeting or the context of creating a marketing plan, those are very different things. So if you give it that context, it's going to use that context to give you a much more relevant response. So we've got our goal, context. The next one is the source. So in this case, the source is the document that I'm providing, this file. So that's good. I've shown you how to do that. But you can also add examples of other things you want it to use or other outputs you want it to use. Summarize this file help me prepare for a budget meeting, and please follow this example that I've used in the past, and you can link that document in there as well. And the fourth and final part of this is the expectations. So we've got the goal, the context, the source, and now the expectations. What kind of output do I want? Now that can be the length of it, can be the style of it. It can be I want a one-pager, I want one paragraph, I want 2 sentences, I want 3 bullet points. But it can also be how you want it to be presented. Please present it in a table. Please present it in a way that's suitable as a speaker notes for a presentation. Please give it to me as an agenda for a meeting. So it can do all of these different formats. Now, these 4 things overlap a little bit. Like I said, you don't have to do all of these things structurally perfect in order every time, but these are the things that I want you to think about as you write your prompt. Why do I want this? What's the concept? What other examples can I give? And what is my expected output along with the goal? And if you follow those principles, you will get so much more out of this. So let's take a look at what happens if we do that. So if we go back to our original summary, we've got the overview, objectives, tactics, implementation. I'm going to start a new chat. So you can actually keep going with the chat. I could ask it for follow-up questions and keep iterating on that prompt. Starting a new chat basically goes sort of clear the context and start again. So just think about as you're doing it, don't go in and kind of just completely change the topic halfway through. It's really good at doing that sort of follow-up conversation. But if you want to start again, that new chat button up in the top right there is the way to go it. So I'm going to say summarize, and I'm going to give it that same file. So that was our promotion plan. In order to prepare me for budget conversation with our executive. So there's my context. I've already got a source in there. I could put an output in there, but I'm not going to do that. Please give me a 2-sentence overview and a summary of the key costs involved and the justification and business value for each. Do you see the difference between a prompt like that and summarize this file? So if you're doing something where summarize this file is enough, that's okay. I tend to find at least more than half of the time, adding these other elements in here is going to give you a much better result. And here we go. It's given me the 2-sentence overview. It's given me the key costs and the justification. So because I gave it that context, I'm in a much better position now to prepare for my budget meeting. I hope you can see that prompting skill is really a language skill. It's a delegation skill. Don't be afraid to get in and try it. Don't be put off by the idea of prompt engineering. This is the thing that will help you discover value. Copilot Chat also keeps your conversation history. So you'll notice that I've got some things down the side here. This is a collapsible menu. So if I collapse that up or down again, that will open or close those conversations. So I can go back into the previous one that I was in before, or I can view all conversations, and that will allow me to go in and pick up on a previous thread. Let's say I was going to write a LinkedIn post earlier and I want to pick up that conversation again. I can go back in, select that and continue that conversation, or I can choose to delete conversations or rename them if they're things that I want to come back to. Generally, you can get up to about 30 turns in a conversation before it just kind of can't deal anymore. So that's about the limit of it before you have to start something new. In addition to chat, you also have an experience in here called agents. I'm going to click under the agents menu. Again, this can be expanded or collapsed, this explore agents capability. Now, agents is a word that gets used a lot. Everything's an agent. So you might think of agents as highly technical things that are, reinventing the world. Yes, that is true. But also we use the word agents in this context here to mean something that you as a user can have for your individual productivity. And the idea here is that if you've got something that is very repeatable, something that you want to do over and over again, instead of writing a prompt, you can actually expand on that prompt to provide more context and more detail about all of those things that you're trying to achieve, the goal, the outputs, the expectations, the context, all of those things, and save that as a set of instructions. So think of this as sort of that uplift from, instead of just writing a prompt, this is something that I want to do over and over again, and I'll show you an example in a moment, where I can basically save those instructions, and each time I need to do that task, I can jump into my agent. The agent knows the job. I've given it essentially a job description, and it's able to perform that task for me. You want to think of these agents, these personal productivity type agents, as like little subject matter experts in one very specific thing. Don't try to get them to do all of your things together. These are designed to be, they work well when they're very, very specific. So in the Explore agents, we've actually got some agents here that are provided by Microsoft. So I'm going to start with one of those, and then we are going to go in and have a look at an agent that you can create for yourself. So you can choose whatever you like here if you're following along, but Prompt Coach is one of my favorites. So you just choose this and select Add. And this is an agent that has got instructions in the background that helps you write a better prompt. And it actually knows about that framework that I was just talking to you about. It's called the GCSE framework, Goal, Context, Source, Expectations. So this has actually already got all of that background information in it, and it can help you write better prompts. One of my favorite hacks is using AI to help you get better at using AI, because guess what? It knows how to use itself better than you do. So once you've got that agent in there, you can go over to the right-hand menu here, and you can pin it so that it stays there under that agent menu, and you can come back to it later. If you find you aren't using it, you can unpin it and it will fall down the list, and that's fine, but that will allow you to sit there. Now, before I show you what this does, I just want to go back and contrast something so that you can see what this does. If I go into my, let's say we go back into the summarize the promotion plan here, and if I said at the end here, how could I improve this prompt? So this is just in the general Copilot Chat. It's just got general knowledge, the general large language model. It hasn't got any specific instructions here about prompting, but it knows some stuff. It will give me a reasonably good answer. It will say, your original prompt is clear, but it could be improved. Here are some suggestions. So it's giving various things. Okay, that's not too bad. If I do this in the agent, so what I'm going to do here is just grab this and copy it, and I'm going to come back over into my Prompt Coach agent. And what I want to do here, it's got these quick prompts that allow me to, like this has all been set up, so when you create your own agent, you can also do this. But I'm going to choose this one, analyze my prompt and provide feedback on how I could improve it. And then I'm going to put my prompt in here and watch the difference in what this does, because in the background, it's actually got a bunch of things that say, you should review the prompt using this framework. You should respond in this particular format, in this particular way. So you'll see how different this is. It repeats my original prompt. It provides me with an improved prompt. It tells me the changes made and why, and it is actually using in the background that framework. So that's the concept of what the agent can do. There are other agents in here that are similar, and I would encourage you to have a play around with these depending on what feels useful to you. There's one that can help you with brainstorming, something that can help you with improving your writing, and various other things in there as well. Now that we've had a look at those out-of-the-box agents from Microsoft, let's have a look at how you can create your own agent. Start over here in the next tab down by clicking on Create Agent, and that will open this experience. You will see there are two tabs at the top here, either Describe or Configure. Depending on when you're watching this, might change where you land. I want you to click on the Describe tab if that's not where you already are, because this is the easier experience as a beginner to start working with this. So you're just going to describe in natural language the use case for your agent, what it is that you want it to do. So I want you to think about things that you do regularly, things that are repeatable, things that might need a lot of context involved in them, or things where you've got information on a website maybe that you want to use or repurpose. So examples of things here could be, you could create an agent that could help you with the clarity of your communication, to say, I need you to write in a certain style using a certain type of voice from a certain perspective or for a certain perspective. You might need to have an agent that can help you with your career, to say, this is the next stage I'm aiming for in my career. I want you to give me guidance based on that very specific job role and the objectives, and review what I'm doing. All sorts of things like that. The example that I'm going to show you here is using a website that is a Microsoft 365 glossary. So let's say that I am working in a role where I'm dealing with technical people all the time, but I'm not technical myself, and they are talking in all of this kind of jargon. And you know what? Every single industry has its jargon. So this is one that I think is quite a useful, helpful thing. So I am actually just going to grab that URL. This is a public website that we're going to be able to use. And what I'm going to do is say, I want an agent that can help me understand Microsoft 365 terminology and jargon in a way that will make sense to me. Now let's say I am I'm a writer. Let's say I work in marketing actually for a technology company, but I am not technical, right? So I'm giving it some context here. Same principles of the things we thought about before with the context and the expectations. And so what it's going to do is, first thing it will do is suggest a name for my agent, and you'll see will immediately pop up on the right-hand side here that we've got a bunch of suggested prompts. We'll come back to that. So Microsoft 365 Marketing Guide. So if you are happy with that, you can just say, yes, go ahead. I am going to call this one my M365 Jargon Buster because I want to have a bit more fun with it. You can call your agent Joe if you like. You might forget what Joe is because you are going to create lots of different agents. The idea here is that you will have lots of different sort of subject matter experts. So call it something that makes sense to you, that if you create a dozen of these, that you will still remember what it is. So you'll see on the right hand side there that that's changed. Let's refine what your agent will do. Should you share any specific ways? Do you want it to use analogies, short definitions? So say it should always use simple. No, let's not say simple. It should always use clear, non-technical language. I am a professional knowledge worker. It would help to have analogies that would make sense to me, or use cases that would help me understand. Now you'll see my typing is terrible here. It actually doesn't matter. I've misspelt some things. It will get it. It's able to handle those things. When I'm doing this and I'm not on camera, I am inclined to correct my own spelling mistakes though, because I actually really hate doing that, but sort of show you that you don't have to type it perfectly because it's interpreting my natural language and restructuring it underneath. Okay, so would you like it to reference any publicly accessible websites? Well, yes, I would. So I'm going to put that one in there and it will now bring that knowledge in. It will refer to that. If I don't do that, it could probably still do the job with its general language model, but I'm actually grounding it, pointing it to a knowledge source that I want to use. So now we've actually got a problem here because the limitation on this is that we can only go 2 levels deep in the URL. It's a bit of a catch here, but I think the Microsoft Learn site of Microsoft 365 would be fine. So we'll say that's fine. We'll go ahead and use that. So just be aware of that one. Sometimes that doesn't work. This is now going to have a lot more knowledge down the tree than just that jargon site. If you have control over where something sits in a website, you might be able to change it. But if you're using a publicly accessible website, this is sadly just one of the limitations. All right, let's come into the Configure tab here. So now we have a chance to see what it's done, make any changes. You don't have to do this part, you can just create it, but I want you to understand what it's doing. So first of all, here's the name. These are all editable boxes. I can go in and change the name, change the icon if I like. I could use Copilot to generate an image that I could use as an icon if I wanted to do that. It has a description and a set of instructions. So the description is like its overall purpose, and the instructions are based on what I described before about basically this is the job description. Now, you can have up to 8,000 characters in here. You'll see I'm only using 456 of the 8,000 characters. I can go a lot further with this. And again, you can actually use Copilot to help you with improving instructions and writing instructions. You could have something here that says, please review this in the following order and give me this output, a little bit like we saw with that prompt coach before, where it's giving you a structured output. So I could say, please always provide the structured output with the definition and then an analogy and then an example use case and then a clear definition. So you can go quite far with this. I'm going to keep it quite simple for now because it doesn't have to be complicated. The second last thing we've got here is knowledge. So you'll see that with the knowledge here, I could enter a URL. So if I hadn't already put a website in, I could do that, or I could put more websites in if I wanted to do that. There's the one that I've got. We could restrict usage. So at the moment, it will use its general knowledge and other sort of things as well as this. I could say only use that. So let's say we only want to kind of go with the legitimate source that I've put in there. That's as far as I can go with knowledge in the free version. If you want to do things like connect to all of your documents on SharePoint, connect to your emails, connect to Teams, upload documents, all of those things, that's available in the paid Microsoft 365 Copilot license. So this is where we cut off with the free version. I can have instructions and websites, and that's it. If you want documents and all of your work data, again, that's what you're paying for. If you want to do something, if you're sort of more in an administrator maker role rather than a knowledge worker role, and you want to publish an agent that is for the whole company to use, let's say we want something that is all of the SharePoint documents and all of your policy documents for employees to ask questions, you can do that, but you need to go a little bit further outside of this experience. Copilot Studio full version allows you to create something kind of enterprise-wide with all the required security and controls, but then you can publish that back so that your users can consume it here. There's licensing associated with that. That is absolutely not free. So to be clear, in the free version, as an individual user, I can create something that helps me with my personal or team productivity, instructions and website knowledge. Anything more than that, you are into paid licensing and different tools in the stack. You've also got the option here for it to create documents, charts, and code. This enables something called a code interpreter. You don't have to know code, it just gives it an extra capability in the background to be able to do those things. This use case doesn't want it, but doesn't warrant it rather. But if you've got an agent that you want to be performing more sort of analytical type tasks, toggle that switch on. And we could also choose to let this agent create images. I don't really want it to do that, so I'm not going to toggle that on either, but you have those options there. So now we have got a whole lot of suggested prompts here. So based on my description, it's put in these suggested prompts that the user could just click. But in this case, these things are very specific examples of what we could do. So I could use them there, leave them there as examples of what we want to do. But realistically, I'm creating this for me. I want to just be able to go and say, what does this mean? And it just knows the instructions in the background. I'm not going to use any of these quick prompts. You don't have to have them. So you can edit any of these. You can have between 0 and 6 of them. In this case, I don't want any of these in the agent, but you can see here, you can just go in and edit or change them. So some use cases, they're really useful. In this one, I'm just like, no, I just want to be able to go in and type that in. Now I can test it here. I'm just going to go ahead and create it. You'll find that as you use it, you might want to come back and improve it. You can absolutely do that. This is not over the first time you create it. You've also got the option in here to share it with your colleagues. So the share button here will give you a link that you could use to share for specific users or anyone else. Hear what I said earlier about this. All this will do is share a link for them to be able to use it. They can't edit it. It's not like it's being deployed properly across the organization. This is meant to be just sort of for your own and for your team's productivity. So let's say, I find this useful and I want to share it with the rest of my marketing team. That would be the use case for that. So for now, I'm going to make it only for me and go to my agent, and there it is. It's over the side like we saw before. I'm going to pin that because I want to keep it there. And I am going to ask it, let's go back in and find something that was in the glossary that we might want to have a look at here. GDPR, there we go. There's a good one that comes up in marketing all the time. What is GDPR? Now it's going to use It's possibly not a Microsoft specific term, but it's going to kind of give me all of these things. So this is a regulation from the European Union. What does it mean for marketing? Because remember, I've given it that context of that's what it means. If I just use the general chat instead of an agent and said, what is GDPR? I would get a general definition of it, but it wouldn't necessarily be giving me the Microsoft related context or the marketing related context. Let's try another one here. What does global administrator mean? Here's a simple way to think about it. I feel like this is quite good. Like it's not kind of dumbing it down too much for me, but it's explaining it to me in non-technical ways, in marketing terms. So you'll see what it's doing here. It's not just giving me general answers, it's actually framing it according to the instructions. Now I've kept this one very simple, but if I wanted to do more with it, I can come back in here and click on the three dots next to the pin there, select edit, and then that will come in here and I can come back in and edit those instructions and click update. The more you put in here and the further you go with it, the more tailored it will become and the more sophisticated it will become. So that's how you can use agents in the free version of Copilot Chat. To round out this section on Copilot Chat, let's take a look at the concept of memory. Now, I said earlier, Copilot does not share your data with the large language model. It's not used to train the large language model, but it does understand the context of how you're using it securely within this environment and what you're asking for it and the things you're working on and the type of role that you have. And you can use the memory function to help it just personalize and tailor things a little bit more for you the way you like. So if I were to say, for instance, come in here and just sort of show you the starting point of this is to say, draft an email to a customer outlining a new proposal or something like that. You're going to get a very generic voice. This is one of my favorite things, least favorite things. Dear customer, I hope this message finds you well. I mean, if you ever want to give away that something's been written by AI, that's it. So what we're going to do is make it sound more naturally like me. So I'm going to tell Copilot something about the tone and style that I prefer to work in, because this is definitely not it. So here's an example. My tone is professional, yet approachable, collaborative, warmth, friendliness. You do whatever is right for you here. I'm going to say, please remember this when I ask you to write emails. Key phrase here, please remember this. So watch what happens here is we get this little piece here that says memory updated. So you'll see, whoops, let's jump down a bit. It goes in and actually kind of takes that, and you can use this for other things as well. You can say, remember that I always like to start with this greeting. It doesn't have to be just email. This is a really nice, easy example. It can be other things about this is my role, and this is the focus I have, and this is the type of approach I have. Now, you can see from here that I can actually go straight into manage memories from here, but the other place you'll find this is to go into the three dots at the very top right, into settings, and then into personalization. Now, you have control over whether you want to use this or not. You don't have to use it. There are two things in here. We've got Copilot memory, so you'll see that that memory has just been added. And if for some reason I didn't want that there, I can get rid of it. Now, it will only pick up on things where you either explicitly ask it to remember or where there's an implication. I prefer this, I want to do that. Those types of things are the things it will pick up on. It's worth going in and having a look for yourself at what it's picked up on and clear things. Now, this is my demo environment. In my real work environment where I work with a lot of clients, it actually has quite a long list of you're working on this with this client and this with this client, because there's a repeated use of those scenarios. And at some point I won't be working on this with that client, or I don't want it to remember that because it's unhelpful, so I can actually go in and remove those memories. So you've got control over doing those things as well. If we go back into the custom instructions, this is where you can just directly type something in here. So the memory is sort of picking up on the things that come out of the chat and the way you use it. But again, you can put something in here about your personal interests or goals. You can also change the tone of how Copilot responds to you. So you could say, please always greet me in a warm and friendly tone, take on a persona of something else. So we could say, take on the persona of a trusted advisor and use a friendly tone. or something like that, but you can actually ask it to do whatever you want here. So this is sort of like your influence over the meta instructions of how Copilot will interact with you. And then you can save that, and you can always come back. And yes, I know I spelt advisor wrong. we can go back over that. So we'll close that down. So let me just take this exact thing again. And this is a terrible prompt. You know that now because you watched the rest of the video, didn't you? But still, for the purposes of explanation. And so you can see that the whole tone of the thing is far more like something that I would write and far more aligned to what I would do. So if you want to have that more personalized experience in the free version, you can do all of those things with both the memory and the instructions. Let's now take a look at what you can do inside the Microsoft 365 apps with the free version. So we're going to go through in turn Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, and OneNote. I'll put bookmarks in, skip ahead if you've got a favorite in here. So the core concept of working in the Microsoft 365 apps with the free version is that you have access to this same chat experience. It's following you around all of those apps, and it works with the document or the context that's on the screen. This is a big difference from the free version to the full paid Microsoft 365 Copilot version. The full version allows you to kind of get into all of your business data or affect changes to the things. This is actually just working with being able to sort of answer questions and work with the context of the open document. So that's where the limit is with the free version, but you can still do quite a lot with that. So let's come in here and we'll have a look at Copilot. There's always a Copilot button on the top menu bar. I am working in the online version here. This is the same in the desktop version. So you'll see that this is essentially the same experience as that other Copilot Chat. Importantly, the navigation panel here allows you to get to that conversation history. So that is something that we will come back to. So what I can do here is to say, for instance, create a chart showing the order total value by shipping method. Now, in the chat, it understands the context of the open spreadsheet. So it knows that I'm talking about that spreadsheet. But with the free version, I can't actually interact with the spreadsheet. So it won't create the chart in the spreadsheet, but it will create the chart in the chat, and I can copy and paste it in there. It also stays in the conversation history because I'm just working in this side panel. So that chart will sit there and I can actually bring it across into other applications. Stay tuned. We're going to show you that. So what we've got here is the chart by shipping method. Is this here we go, click and collect, express, standard. All right, so that's not bad. And we've got some key insights in there as well. But that is now exactly the same chat. If I go back over here and just refresh my Microsoft 365 chat experience, you will see that that is now in the conversation history. That is now sitting there. So even though I've done that in the context of that Excel spreadsheet, I can access it from anywhere that I can access chat, which includes going across all of these different apps. So you can do all sorts of things. You can ask it here for key insights. You can ask it to create charts. You can come in here and say, let's copy this and paste it into the spreadsheet if you want to put it in there. But importantly, with the free license, it is working in the chat. The other thing you might like to know here is you can expand this out a little bit because it does get a little bit hard to read along the way. So let's take a look at that same concept inside another spreadsheet here. So we've got Bring Your Pets to Work Day. I'm going to come back to this in a PowerPoint deck. We can open Copilot and I can say, in the context of this little budget that we've got for a proposed Bring Your Pets to Work Day, rather than creating a chart, I can say, please write a summary of the costs involved in this. So I don't have to specify what this is because it knows what it is. So we've just got the cost breakdown and that's all in there as well. All right, we're going to park that one and come back to it. Switching contexts here, we are going into Word. So I've got a document open and I can open Copilot on the side. Now you can use this to generate content from scratch. You could come in here and say, can you please generate a document for me that's a marketing plan for such and such? But it's not, I tend to find asking it to generate things from scratch without reference to other things isn't terribly good. You can also bring other documents in here. So what I've got here is the product description, the key features. So what I could do here is help me come up with an effective product marketing tagline for this product. So again, I'm interacting with the document. So here we go. We've got some tagline ideas based on this. And again, I could chat with it on the side. I can copy and paste it in there, but I can also bring another document in. So I've got some other things related to the Mystic Spice Premium Tea. You'll see this little plus button appears everywhere in the Copilot chat. So you can either upload a document that you've got just somewhere on your desktop, or if you go into the add work content, that will actually give you access to the things you've got in the OneDrive that you are logged into. That was a really clunky way of saying it, your OneDrive. So I've actually already got the promotion plan. So what we could do here is to say, which one of these fits best with the promotion plan. So now I'm in the context of this chat. It's looking at this document. I am now looking at my taglines and then saying, based on this, which is going to be the best, and it's actually brought those things together. So I'm working across multiple documents here. I could also say, compare the contents of this document that I've just uploaded with the document that's open and what's missing, or what are the differences between them. So you can actually sort of work across multiple things, but with the free version, it's working with what's here and what you explicitly add in that little plus button in the chat. It doesn't, as a starting point, have access to all of your work. That's in the paid version. So let's take a look at PowerPoint. And this is my Copilot chat in PowerPoint with the Copilot button here. I can come in here and open the navigation panel, and you can see that I can access those agents I was using before. But remember, I asked when I was in Excel to write a summary of the costs from Excel. So I can actually open that chat here and bring that in. So let's copy that. And with the free version of Copilot, I can't actually in the chat ask it to make changes directly to the content. That's the paid license. But let's just grab another slide in here. So I'm going to maybe just at the end of this section here, add a new slide. And I'm going to call this one Cost Breakdown and paste the text into there. So there we go. That puts it in there. Now, you don't need to watch me do PowerPoint formatting. You can do that. But let's say I wanted to add an image in here. So I could ask Copilot here to generate an image showing a dog surrounded by money. I honestly think sometimes that image generation is a little bit of a gimmick, but if you are trying to do something a little bit fun in a work context and you want to be able to generate something specific, so all of this is actually an AI generated PowerPoint presentation. It uses stock images, but you can use the Copilot chat to generate images and to do that as well. So we will give that a minute. And here's the big reveal. Now, obviously, I could have been more specific in my prompt with what type of dog and what type of image I wanted. We are getting a golden retriever, I think, because that's always apparently the generic dog. Just while that's coming through, remember, if you do a copy and paste, always get rid of the top and tail, because it pulls in that, would you like me to do the next step? And honestly, I put the cost breakdown up at the top there. So just whenever you do that, just the top and tail of the AI will catch you out. And so look at our beautiful, rich golden retriever coming through here. And actually, I think we've got a Labrador. And I know that this image is AI generated because honestly, I have a Labrador and there is no way that Labrador would not just be eating said money. All right. So again, what we can do is copy that and bring it across into the deck. So there is always this sort of little bit of work of doing these things. Is it a golden retriever or a Labrador? Someone needs to tell me. I think we might have a bit of a hybrid in here. So, but you can see how you can sort of work side by side. And then don't forget, in addition to Copilot, Designer is part of PowerPoint, and Designer is sort of offering me something here that helps me with that formatting in the end. So use these tools in conjunction with each other. Let's take a look at Outlook. Now, the Copilot in Outlook here can only work with the email that's open in context. So this same principle with the free version, you can only work with the things that are open in the context. You can't work with the deeper data that requires the paid license. So you can't do things here like summarize my inbox, identify action items in my inbox. You can only work with the open email. It also can't access your calendar. All of those things of all your email and your calendar, you do need the paid license. So to be honest, this is fairly limited. I think this is probably only useful if you want to use it to help you draft emails or manage, like if you've got a really long thread, I think it could be really helpful. So you could say identify action points from this thread. And it knows what's in there. So you can see this is one that's kind of gone on and on a little bit. So we've got sort of the, what's going on here. So you could say like there's 2 people involved here. So that's pulling those action points out. I could say draft a response. And remember that I used the memory before. So now it still knows that because I'm still in that same chat experience where it's using that memory. And so you'll see it's using that same language that I said, professional yet approachable. You'll notice there's also no, I hope this email finds you well. We're starting with the hi and the cheers. So again, this is something that I would need to copy and paste and actually put into the email. So it can help you in very limited circumstances there. I think the highest value thing here is that you can use it in the context to help you draft a response to the email that's on the screen. You just have to do the copy paste, but use that memory trick to get it to write to sound like you rather than sounding like a machine. If you don't like the M dashes, you can also in the memory say, please never use M dashes. So you can go ahead and do that as well. And OneNote, which is often the most underrated thing. I live in OneNote in my real work and in my content creation. This is an example of something I've put in there that was actually sort of a timestamp of a video I did a couple of years ago of an Ask Me Anything. So I thought I'd see what we can do with that because it's something real. So what can I help you capture? So please create a list of the key topics covered in this list, and you can see that it's working with what's on that page there. So this is sort of my index of all of the topics we covered, and it's actually sort of grouped them in a certain way and turned it into something that I could use. So same sort of thing I can interact and repurpose in there. A couple of final things I want to show you here. Back in this main experience, as I said at the start, this is actually your Microsoft 365 app. So even though the Copilot Chat is the main experience here, you might also like to go into this search bar. The search bar allows you to search, obviously, for things that you've got. But as you search for things and find them, you've actually also got little suggested prompts down the side here. So for instance, we could create an FAQ out of that document, and that's like an instant prompt that pops up and does something that I wrote before. And look at the way that it's written the prompt in a really good way for me from that single button click. So that's something that's worth going in and just having a bit of an understanding of and ideas of things you can do. You've also got suggested prompts that you can use here. So underneath the main thing, you've got a bunch of different suggested prompts. You can open this See More and go in here and see some other ideas of what you can do, or go into the prompt gallery here and see even more ideas. There is a thing here called Your Prompts. So if, for instance, I come in here and let's go back to the FAQ and let's say I really like this, I could save it by clicking that ribbon icon. And then when I go back into that prompt area, that's something I could use again. So I can start to build out and kind of save the prompts that I want to use. Or, of course, don't forget, you could turn some of those into agents if they are highly repeatable things. So there's a lot you can do with the free license. Obviously, with the paid license, you are getting that sort of grounding in the full context of all of your data at work, as well as some premium agents and other premium connections. There is actually a lot more in there. But as a starting point for free, I hope you can see there's a lot going on in here. If you can get yourself across some really good prompting skills, use your documents in there, work across those apps, basically just try and use it in the context of where you're working, I think you'll find a lot of value in here. And it's certainly a very good place to, start to get used to using AI at work in the tools that you're using every day. If you don't or don't yet have that full Copilot license, there is absolutely plenty of value here. Please let me know in the comments if you came the full distance of the tutorial with me. I always love hearing that. Thanks again and happy copiling.